Hey, Jennifer Priest here, and I want to share with you a really fun mixed media scrapbook page. So at StencilGirl, we're taking a challenge with Craft Hoarders to use messy stuff like ink and paints and embossing powders, and this scrapbook page uses all of those things. So the first thing you'll want to do is get a 12 by 12 piece of scrapbook paper and just tape down the trees stencil here from StencilGirl, and I'm using some mixed media inks re-inker from Clear Snap, and I'm just putting that right onto my stylus, my color box stylus and tip, and inking that directly onto the stencil. So this is kind of a fun way to use your re-inkers. And then I'm also using an ink pad. This is a Metale Extra ink pad from Colorbox, also from Clear Snap. And I'm just using that to give some metallic in here. And then over top of that, I'm using a rollograph stamp wheel that's got kind of a script pattern, and I'm rolling that through the stencil with some Colorbox Crafters ink. Now that's a pigment ink. So in order to get all of this to dry, because all of these inks I'm using right now are pigment inks, I'm putting some embossing powder on there, and I'm going to heat set that with my heat gun. And that's going to help dry all of that pigment ink and set it, and also create kind of a resist for the other layers of messy stuff I'm going to use later in this project. So here you can see I'm finishing up heat embossing with my heat gun there. Now you do want to let this cool just a little bit before your next step. Now I've taped on another stencil, and here I'm using some Americana acrylic craft paint, and I like to kind of dab it with a foam paintbrush. So I kind of use my thumb on the back of the brush to kind of press the paint into the stencil, and I also like to kind of rub it just a little bit so I get that raised lip around the edge of the stenciled image. Now I'm also using some eyes ink. This is a pigment acrylic ink from Clear Snap. Actually, Clear Snap distributes this for a company called Aladdin. And I'm using a Colorbox art wheel to roll that onto the stencil. So I've put a little bit of water with a spray bottle into the eyes ink, and then I'm spreading it on with the art wheel. Now, if you don't like the way that that looks, like I decided I didn't like that kind of coverage, I wanted more coverage, I'm using a dauber, and actually a sponge applicator from Clear Snap to also add some darker color in there. And then I decided with this Pebbles or River Rock stencil that I wanted some more dimension, so I'm actually putting it around the edges of the page because my pictures are going to cover up the middle, so I just want some extra dimension here on the edges. And I'm using some Colorbox spritzers. It's a darker spray dye ink, and to ink the edges so that it would match, I just took some of that spritzer and put it there on my mat, and then put a little bit of water in it. I'm going to use that stylus and tip to kind of ink the edges of my entire layout with that coordinating color of Colorbox Spritzer's ink. So here I just have lots of different layers. I'm creating kind of this river rocky type background, and the reason that I chose this stencil is because I wanted it to look a little bit organic, but I also wanted it to look kind of like dog footprints because this layout is about my dog getting on our couch. So even if a stencil's kind of abstract, you can kind of think about how does that relate to my subject matter, and how could it kind of make sense. So I wanted this to kind of look like little dog footprints everywhere. And then I just grabbed some odds and ends out of my embellishment boxes that matched. You know, I pulled some green things and some blue things to match those teals and the mint green in the background, and I just layered those up. And then I put the orange there because I liked that little bit of contrast, and it pulls from the yellow that's in the couch in the pictures. And then I just cut a little piece of cardstock. I punched a circle, cut it in half, and slipped that under that little alligator guy and made a little journaling spot there. And then I used some more of the washi tape to add my title, and I used white letters to kind of pull from that little white half circle that I used for journaling to kind of pull the eye across the page. Put a few little brads here, again trying to use up that stash. These are some like flocked brads. I don't even know where I got them from. And then again, just adding some stitching with my pen. Super easy. You can do this with a ruler or without. And there you have it, a really simple, easy layout using lots of your messy stuff, from inks to paints to embossing powder to stamps, all done with stencils. So you can get some really cool effects. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment down in the comment section. Thanks, bye!